We got Delilah playing around in the living room, so if you guys hear squeaky toys, it is my beautiful baby Delilah. It's nice to see everybody. This is Saturday. I'm still extremely exhausted. I haven't done a whole lot. I barely put clothes away, and I've got a lot of work. I finally got my hard drive in right here, so I've got to download. I'm running out of space on my phone, on my external hard drives. I got a 2 terabyte hard drive that needs to be converted over to. I got a 12 terabyte hard drive. It's actually fairly affordable because I've been paying a lot of money for 6 terabytes on iCloud, and it's like $29 a month. And I figured if I can try to cut down some of that. But it hasn't let me revert back to a 2 terabyte plan, even though I've got it down under 2 terabytes on the iCloud right now. So I got to figure that out. I think I have to do it for my computer because they're being difficult. They like that $29.99. So it's nice to see you all. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. I am still playing recovery right now. It's great to see everybody here. This morning we had like a 4-hour live. It was crazy, but we haven't seen each other in a really, really long time. So I had been, in Tennessee, the travel time, it's hard to do lives or anything like that. But what you guys don't know is that while we were out there, we got to do some searching with Silvers on the Scene and his wife, which was really, really nice. I had no idea that they were from Georgia, and now that I know that they're from Georgia and they've been commuting over to Tennessee from Georgia, God bless them for that, There's a lot of people out here doing a lot of great work trying to find information to locate Sebastian Rogers. And one of the things that we've been bouncing around with for a significant amount of time is whether or not forensics have been done. And so we hadn't heard from Seth Rogers publicly for quite some time. And last night, it was a very powerful, in my opinion, very powerful interview Tony did with him on his channel with the assistance of Josh at the lab. And they did a great job on the interview style of Seth. It sounded like there were a few things that, we've been working this case for a really long time. So a lot of the stuff we have already been a privy to, we already knew about. It wasn't anything new information, but there was a lot of new information that was provided behind the scenes. There's stuff that we thought about, but we weren't sure about, you know what I'm saying? It always comes back around to this nasty little thing that's been eating at me and gnawing at me for some time. And it's whether or not forensics have been done at the property. And I don't think it has been cleared up so far, one way or the other. We have one lone post, and it's not even a public post. It was a response to somebody's question, because I've been demanding, people had asked, like this was a while back, that people go to Nick Baris and ask him if forensics done on the inside of the house. And, as of March 20th, we were told in a interview, that interview was on Smiley's World, that no forensics has been done at the house. None. That was of March 20th. March 20th. Some full 30 days later. Okay? Then we hear some insight from Seth. Many of us, we have an idea, what we think has happened, but hearing some corroboration of that from somebody that was literally in the mix of stuff, such as Seth Rogers, to hear that they were kind of side-eyeing him as potentially being involved in his son's disappearance, which we all know is not a possibility. I mean, I guess anything's possible, but the probability of it is not probable. I think that would be more appropriate to say than anything, not probable, right? Anything's possible. But he was at work, he was on camera, he makes a living wage that barely gets him by, like many of us, right? And so the idea of hiring somebody, where the hell is he going to get the money? He doesn't know anybody there. He hasn't been there very long, right? He just moved. He wanted his son in his life. He wanted to move closer to his son to have more of a relationship with his son, period. Bottom line. So we know that law enforcement was side-eyeing him, and that's good. I mean, let's be honest. We want, in the beginning of this, everybody should be side-eyed. Really. You know? Everybody should be side-eyed. When you're dealing with a missing child, I take the path of precaution. You know? We don't know what's going on here. Everything's on the table. Let's not miss anything. Let's act as if this is a homicide investigation. That's just, that's kind of how my mind is set anymore, because we deal with this so much. And when you have that mindset, things don't get missed as much. Okay. There's always going to be mistakes that happen from case to case, because, the investigators are human beings, and human beings by design make mistakes. So they're not super beings. They're not superhuman. And we understand that, and we put that into the equation. And we don't harp on law enforcement that's doing their job and makes normal run-of-the-mill mistakes. Nobody's perfect, not even you, despite what you think, okay? Just saying there, okay, Cupcake? Just say it. So we all make mistakes. We all don't do our job perfect. We just try to do it as the best we can, right? Sometimes our best just isn't good enough. But law enforcement, they're human beings. They have the same type of things. I'm far from perfect. Me too. So we have to expect and be understanding that mistakes are going to happen from case to case. But we expect law enforcement to work hard to minimize the mistakes that are happening. And one of the most crucial mistake in this case is not having an alternate theory, okay? I think some powerful information was brought up last night, such as, there's nothing showing that this child walked out of the home, okay? Nothing at all. So why did law enforcement just automatically believe that this child walked out from home? I mean, think about it. Law enforcement are supposed to sniff out this stuff, right? They're supposed to have the expertise. It doesn't matter whether or not they've had 100 cases like this, or one case like this, or no case like this. We expect them to utilize their know-how and their instinct from the experience that they had from other things. Trust me, stuff that I'm using in Sebastian Rogers' case wasn't necessarily an experience I had with another missing person. It might have been some things that are with a homicide victim, or some other case that I'm covering, such as Carly Russell, right? Carly Russell, perfectly fine, hoaxer, nothing happened to her. She was mad at her boyfriend and decided to, do this elaborate, kidnapping of her, or whatever. It was a hot mess express, right? And it was all a hoax. So we have a lot of experiences here. And whenever you're looking at this case, I understand things are moving quite quick. You're trying to show that you're coming from a place of strength. You're trying to show the parents that you're doing everything you can. But at some point, you got to go, oh, horsey, slow the up, right? And, sorry, Delilah's just playing. She's so cute. It's hard not to look at her while she plays. And, they pointed out a lot of stuff. So they're saying this child ran out of the home. Now, mind you, by the time his father got there, I'm pretty sure they knew he was not an eloper. He's never ran away from home before. He has autism. I'm sure that they're already talking to some professionals. Somebody should have told them that usually kids don't run away if they've never ran away before. I mean, this is something that professionals have told me and drilled into my head, that it's very unlikely that this child's just going to up one day and just run out of the house in the middle of the night after having an amazing day. We learned that the amazing day didn't sound like it was ending very amazingly. It sounded like by the time they got to strikes and spares, he wasn't himself, right? He got his hands in his pocket, didn't look too happy, according to his father. We know early on in this investigation, way early on, when he was leaving the Texas Roadhouse, he had also indicated he didn't look too happy. So it didn't sound like his attitude changed too much from spares and strikes over to the Texas Roadhouse. But it wasn't that. It was was when Seth came there. His book bag was there. His cell phone was there. His shoes were there. His jacket was there. His switch was there. Every single thing belonging to this child was at that house. At some point, law enforcement's experience, whether they've dealt with this case or not, should have been in hyperdrive and overdrive, saying, wait a minute, what kid walks out of the house with nothing? Where did you get that? Let's not say we did. Let's not say we did. Go find another something or other to play with and grab. Let's not just tear up snot rags all over the living room. Sorry about that. Hazards of the job with a brand new puppy, right? She is full of life and full of energy. You want to get up here and say hi to everybody? Come on. Come on. Everybody wants to say hi to you. Come on. Come say hi. Okay, she's being camera shy. Oh, there she comes. Here she comes. There she did. She just wanted to do it on her own. She says, love my mommy. She's a good woman. Crime fighter Delilah, here to stay. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Say hi. I love my mommy. And I'm driving her crazy because I'm so full of energy right now. And I'm just playing and playing and playing and playing and getting into everything I could possibly get into because I'm just a sweet little puppy. Okay, go play. Go play. And she wants to play on mommy. Mommy's the jungle gym. Come on, get back up here. So, at some point, their internal engine, you know, that something ain't right feeling, should have been kicking in. Oh, hey, Nick, it's nice to see you. It should have been kicking in. And they didn't think outside the box and say, wait a minute, you know? Nothing? They know how cold it was the night before. And nothing? Now, we also learned from Seth that all his electronics were taken. Now, maybe it's because the mom and the stepdad has everybody so convinced. I mean, we know that they have, that law enforcement are you know, at least Sumner County can be taken for a ride. You know what I mean? Like, they just seem to believe whatever anybody says. Hey, Sumner County, since you're so easily convinced by your taxpayers, you were duped. You were duped, and it was at the disadvantage of a 15-year-old medically needy child, and you still haven't tried to fix the issues that you created. We're learning that they were side-eyeing Seth as a possible person involved in his son's disappearance, and still never did forensics of his house. Now, I don't know what kind of policing this is, but when you have a child missing and you believe that there's more to the story than that, what people here in Florida and just about every other state in this United States typically pulls out this thing called luminol and forensics. They go in the house, everything's going, and they have the parents sign, yes, sign the dotted line, give me your phones, all this other stuff. Where is that here? Where is that here? Now, law enforcement's not going to come out and say whether they've got forensics or not. Usually they do, you know, but we're not dealing with an organization that is very professional, okay? Sumner County Sheriff's Office is not a professional organization from where I sit. I've worked with a lot of law enforcement, well, not worked for, you guys know what I'm saying, worked with a lot of law enforcement to provide information in the past. I've had good working relationships from Sullivan County, Tennessee. We've worked with the state police in Tennessee before, coordinating different types of where we wanted to go for the Summer Wells case. So we have reached out to law enforcement, and we've had good working relationships so we can do our job. And for whatever reason, this particular law enforcement, it doesn't feel like, and a lot of people try to give them excuses like other law enforcement, like Dodo Duty Ron, right? You don't have a right to know. Excuse me, I hate to tell you, Duty Ron, there's this thing called the Constitution of the United States. We have a right to do what we do. Okay? I understand that there's a lot of law enforcement that wore the badge and still wear the badge that still don't believe in the Constitution of this United States, yet they sit there and swear to uphold our Constitution. So that is in my opinion, bad. What is being espoused over there is bad. Now, his investigative, maybe an analysis, fine. But as far as him understanding the law, he doesn't know the law if it smacked him upside the freaking head with a law book, okay? And me, on the other hand, practiced in this area, right? Years ago. I haven't been doing it for the last 15 years, but I have, okay? And the law is pretty clear when it comes to this stuff. And then you learn about this National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, and when you review their website, they have beautiful, they are the gold standard when it comes to protecting our children as far as protocols and procedures. They are the clearinghouse, the only clearinghouse in the United States not affiliated with government. They are a nonprofit organization that gets a lot of federal funds, federal grants, to continue their work. And they have been entrusted. Some of this stuff is written into the statutes that they are the clearinghouse for all of the Amber Alerts. That means that that the law enforcement has to meet a certain criteria. Once the certain criteria is met, they send that to them to have the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children approve it and put it on the website and start pushing out the Amber Alert. They are the clearinghouse for that. Okay, so if our federal government trusts the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children that much, wouldn't you expect our law enforcement to be following the stinking directives provided by that very organization that is the gold standard when it comes to missing and exploited children? But in this case, in this instance, for whatever reason, when it comes to Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers' case, we do not get that. They didn't follow the directives at all. Not at the house, not around the house, not at the secondary home, absolutely nothing. And then we find out from Seth himself that they really were going after him as a person of interest in his son's disappearance and still didn't do any forensic testing of his home. And still to this day has not done any forensic testing in his home. After all this time, we're coming up to a year. And they don't know whether Seth is responsible or not, and they damn sure didn't know it in the first days. I'm an equal opportunity person. I didn't know during those days if Seth had something to do with it, or the Proudfoots had something to do with it, or Joe Blow had something to do with it. I had no idea. You know? But now, you're looking back, we're on month 9, and Seth's house hasn't even been forensically tested. And I just want to throw that out there to all those damn hate channels that just beating on this man's door, the man that was the only person that has an actual alibi besides I was sleeping alone, okay? Like, that is the rest of this family's alibi. Oh, I don't know nothing. I was sleeping. I was in bed by midnight. That happened after midnight. I was asleep. Right? Even Delilah, I know. Even Delilah knows. I know. I am. I know you hate that word. I get it. She even knows it's full. Look at her. She's like, really? Spit it out again. I double dog dare you. Delilah, stop it. She's full of it today. She's full. The baby. It's kind of hard to be mad when you got a little girl like this. Say hi to everybody. Instead of kissing me, just kissing me relentlessly, why don't you say hi to everybody? Say hi. Say, I want my mommy to play, and she's on here with you guys. She's on here. Yes, she is. She's ignoring me. No, I'm not. I love my little baby. Even during my life. You can come and kiss me any day you want, anytime you want, girl. But doesn't that just kind of, especially, let's look at this. Why are the hate channels not demanding forensics be done, right? They're so convinced that a man that was in jail on camera has key card, as opposed to people that were saying, I was asleep. Who can corroborate that? Oh, I was sleeping alone. Okay, well, we got a man on camera, as opposed to sleeping alone. So, no forensics of Seth's house. No forensics of Sebastian's house. Does that, if that bothers you, put a 1 in the chat. If you're okay with no forensics being done in this case, and law enforcement failing to follow National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, if you're perfectly fine with that, put a 2 in the chat. Because that's the way it's looking. And then we have one lone reporter that seems like he's bought and paid for by Sumner County in an effort to get future favor from Sumner. It sounds like he is the only person that, and he won't even come public with it. He won't even come public with it. He says when somebody asks him in a text, in like a comment, has forensics been done? He just writes, in the house, ? Yes. That's as much corroboration that we have about this forensics. Now, would Nick Baris lie, or would Sumner County say, hey, can you tell people this? Do you think he would do that? I do. That's why I don't like him. Because I like people, if you notice anything about me, I like people with backbones and balls. I think we talked about it a little earlier on our 4-hour live, right? I prefer people that have backbones, moral compass, and balls, where they do what's right because it's the right thing to do. They don't take the path of least resistance, and they damn sure don't cover anybody's ass, including law enforcement. But there are times and places where law enforcement needs to utilize, mainstream media and deceive the public in an effort to deceive the assailant. We've seen that a lot back in the 90s and early 2000s, like say during abductions or kidnapping, or homicide investigations. We've seen they utilize those practices in, say, serial killer type of situations. So it's not that I'm opposed to deceiving the public. I know it's sometimes it's a necessary evil in law enforcement to catch the bad guy, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But in a situation like this, we're dealing with 9 months. We're dealing with a child that doesn't appear to have been abducted. It doesn't appear that law enforcement truly believes that this child was abducted, and we've got no proof that this child even left the home, making the home literally ground zero and square one. And then we find out that it's a possible, and I'm going to use possible because I want to explain that, but it's possible that forensics weren't done. Now, there is one time of this whole entire story that makes me, oh, thank you, Melanie, God bless you. There is one time frame that it could be possible that forensics were done. And the reason why I really don't believe it happened is because it was during the night. And it's been, it's hard to do forensics at night, okay? For a variety of reasons. They can drape, they really won't need to drape the dark stuff over the windows, but they would, because they wouldn't want the neighbors being able to see anything going on in the house. But you remember when they went out like 2 weeks later to do the reenactment of the scene and see what cameras can pick up what at certain times of the night, opening the door, closing the door, all this other stuff. They did do this reenactment. And I don't know, I heard that it lasted many hours, okay? It wasn't just like a 2 or 4 hour thing. It happened many hours long. if they did forensics, I believe it would have been done at that time, because that would make sense. That would be why, a lot of the neighbors wouldn't have seen, because one of the biggest questions I had a while back was, especially when it came to the neighbors, was did they see any black, it looks like trash bags going up around the windows. And none of them had seen it. But, if they had done that at night, they wouldn't have seen it. And would they be willing? Oh, Miss Tiffany Black, welcome to this crazy crew we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Yay. But they never noticed this, because when you have forensics done, it's very noticeable, okay? You got lots and lots of law enforcement there. It's not something one or two people do. It's something that is a huge orchestration. You have the windows taped up. They go in there. They photograph everything as is. They scan everything as is. And then they start methodically going through each room one by one, looking at anything and everything. There is not one thing in each of those rooms that aren't physically touched and looked through by law enforcement. Then after they're done with that process, another team comes in, and usually that team will spray some stuff around and start turning lights out and start using special glasses and special lighting to pick up any trace evidence and any latent evidence that's there that's not seen by the naked eye. And so thank you, Oma. Gifted 1 Bullhorn Betty membership. Don't forget to tell her thank you. And so you have all these different teams in there that specialize in different things. And mind you, all of this stuff is being recorded and photographed and filmed and throughout the entire process. Evidence is methodically tagged and bagged. And that goes through a process as well. It goes through several hands before it gets put in the evidence box that you see people getting carried out of the house. This is something that is a very large organization and production that's not unnoticed. So with the lack of neighbors noticing something like that, it does lead me to believe if forensics were done, that would have been most likely the time frame that those forensics could have been done. After that point, they didn't see any of that production or orchestration or anything with a heavy presence of law enforcement in and around Sebastian's home after that. That was kind of the it. So if it didn't happen during that time, then I would have to venture to say that forensics still haven't been done of Seth's home or Sebastian's most of the time home, I guess is the best way to, his primary home. Now, we know the primary home was about to change. Here's a lot of the stickers that people don't want to state that are coincidental. We've hit on one of it earlier today. The date in which he disappeared, February 26, in 2016, Katie Proudfoot filed for divorce from Seth Rogers. So Sebastian's mom and father were now, the mom, Katie, is the one that filed for the divorce on February 26, 2016. They had been married 8 years. Exactly 8 years from that date, her son turns up missing and is never seen again. That is ironic to me. I blew it off at first, but when I saw the paperwork myself, and now we're here, it does make you look at that a little bit and say, Then you add the creepy aspect of what was said on last night's interview about how he did all of his favorite things the day before. You would think that a boy that does all of his things the day before would be a very happy, jovial boy. And what we're finding out is that evening didn't appear to be happy or joyful for this young man. From what Seth said, the morning Sebastian's switch was on the floor plugged in was a big red flag, as any child in their room would play, especially if the mom was so busy on the phone. Juicy Jello, great point. And the fact that he didn't play outside, he didn't leave the home. So, you know, and it's kind of sad because she stated that he likes to play with trinkets, you know, and I hear there are some that like to play with these objects like paper clips, binder clips, you know, other little things that they can, you know, play with and whatnot. So I'm not sure if he played with those, but it seems to me that a child that has a game in his room would be more inclined to play with his game, you know, a Switch, as opposed to little trinkets like paper clips. But I don't know. You know, I guess that's going to have to be for more exploration. If CP, KP, CB, TB were not friends with LE, this case would have been handled completely different and Sebastian could have been found. Tear Bear, I concur with that. I concur with that. Law enforcement allowed these people to bamboozle them and really misguide them. And they're still sticking behind them because they don't know, I don't know if they're just too stupid to comprehend it, or they're just playing the game, to be honest with you. I really don't know. A piece of me thinks that nobody could be this stupid, but they did arrest Bullhorn Betty. So clearly they are that stupid. So that does give me a little bit of experience with this law enforcement body, and it's not a very good look for them, in my opinion. Allegedly, in my opinion. Thank you, Silver's on the scene, for that. I gotta tell you, when we were eating breakfast, he talks just like that. I started laughing. He's like, allegedly, in my opinion. I'm like, you know you're not online right now. Follow the money. Yeah, follow the money. Whose money, though? Whose money? Because they weren't the only ones with money in the family, and we kept hearing we out of the stepdad's mouth so much. Now, when you look at how everything breaks down, I think everybody's timing is off just a little bit, okay? Especially around the camper and everything like that. Everybody was off. So what we have here is a stepfather that came home. That whole hot mess express of how he got home is ridiculous, but he gets home, okay? And now he's home. People were driving by their house, not Bullhorn Betty, because my car was broke down at the time. I couldn't go nowhere. I was grounded in this home, okay? So nobody can blame Bullhorn Betty for this information. I just get it from the internet. That's where I get it. And if you didn't want it to be known, don't post it publicly. Just saying, okay? And people were driving by the Proudfoot's home where Sebastian was living, and the camper wasn't there. The camper wasn't there. Remember all those little videos? People, you know, even this one that's now being paid to run interference when they were actually, you know, weren't being paid to run interference. They actually seemed like they were decent and trying to get to the bottom of it and going in that community, lived in that community, and then all of a sudden they realized that it was more profitable being on the bad people's side so they can get money. And so it's funny how money changed their opinion. But this particular content creator that we call Beached Whale, okay, many of you guys know her as Chlamydia, was out there, right? Was out there walking the streets, driving by almost on the daily, recording the house and trying to find out where Sebastian is, and driving by with the camera hanging out every single day. But hey, she wasn't stalking. She wasn't stalking. She was just trying to rub some elbows, figure out who's going to pay her the most to do her job, okay? So we found out that camper didn't arrive back. Thank you, Chlamydia, for that, by the way. We realized through Chlamydia's work that the camper wasn't back at that home until March 14th. So I think this whole idea that they left a few days after this child went missing was inaccurate. So if you look at the timeline, and this is my opinion, allegedly in my opinion, you may agree with this, you may not agree with this. Sumner County might even put out an arrest warrant for me having it. We don't know. Let's just get it spit out and see whether we get an arrest warrant for our opinion again. If you look at the timeline, you look at the telephone call, you look at when the telephone call ended, you look at the lights on the outside of the house, and you look at the time that the stepfather made it to work, he wouldn't have had a lot of time. If your theory is he did something with Sebastian, he wouldn't have had a lot of time to do a whole lot with Sebastian at this area, okay? So that means that Sebastian would have had to been placed somewhere or put somewhere or something like that, right? And then 2 weeks later, thereabouts, 13 days later, it sounds like somebody decided to make a excuse to go and leave for 17 to 24 hours to go get this camper that was only 3.5 hours away. There's a lot that can happen in 24 to 17 hours. Okay, a lot. We have to remove 7 hours, 6 to 7 hours, respectfully, because that's travel time. 6 to 7 hours. So that leaves, what does that leave? 10 to 17 hours. 10 to 17 hours left is what it leaves to do something. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time. When you look at the Summer Wells case, we believe she was moved multiple times. We look at the Michael Monkey Vaughn case. Law enforcement believes that child was moved multiple times. We look at the Harmony Montgomery case. We have corroborated information that she was moved multiple times. All these people keep moving these children to escape responsibility. The only person that's had, has been incarcerated and properly prosecuted is Adam Montgomery with Harmony Montgomery, and that's how we found out she was moved multiple times. But law enforcement in Michael Monkey Vaughn's case believes and told the public they believe he's been moved because they had the ground searches. They had the hit of this one spot. They found a pocket in the ground that looks like this child was at, and then this child appeared and allegedly was moved. We also know that the Wandras had a trip shortly after he disappeared in September, and then all of a sudden their attitude of being relieved was coming across in their social media post. Sarah was posting like relieving type of things after September. Stacy was posting, relieving type of things after September, and we learned that they actually went on a trip to Texas. So we have issues here because a lot of these things that we get, a lot of these experiences that we get from these other cases kind of start gelling in this case a little bit. And it makes you wonder when you look at the timeline and how cryptic and creepy these things are. And the fact that Chris kept saying, we went there, here, we went there, we. And it's like, oh, no, it's not we. My wife didn't go with me. It was me. And then we start hearing about Danny Guy, Uncle Danny. Uncle Danny is well-to-do. He owns second generation construction. Second generation construction is well known in the area. It builds a lot of properties, builds some exceptional upper crust properties at that. Multiple properties are going on at the same time. And a lot of people kept harping on the fact that the stepdad was bringing up concrete and started thinking about St. Jude's. I can promise you that job at St. Jude's, there wasn't, if at all, any concrete being poured. There was none of that concrete being poured at St. Jude's. They were moving stuff that were pre-poured, like the concrete pillars or the slabs of the floors or other pieces. That's what the cranes are there. They're pre done. A company brings them. They take the crane and put them in the spots where they need to go. But with all of the construction of second generation, was there something in very new construction? Because foundations are very, very thick. So now it comes back to what Crime Time Buzz had just said a few weeks ago about how we need to be looking at the properties. How many properties? You never know, right? You never know. However, in the state of Tennessee, FOIA records, unless you live there, you ain't getting them. And a lot of people don't want to go up there poking around and start getting this corrupt county crawling up their rear end. So people in that community are scared to do it themselves. But I truly believe that there may be a lot of information held in the permits being pulled from second generation from September 2023 to March 2024. Who knows? It might spark something, because many people were harping on this concrete comment that the stepfather said. Does it have any relevance? Does his we have any relevance? Many people believe, from what I've read, that Uncle Danny was with him to pick up that camper. Why do you need two men picking up a camper 3.5 hours away? And why do two men need to stay gone for 17 to 24 hours? If that's the case, it's possible. I don't know. All I do know is this stinks to high heaven, and we absolutely know without a doubt 100% that forensics were never done at Seth Rogers' house. That's what we know 100%. We know they took more electronics from Seth Rogers' house and will not give them back to him, as opposed to Sebastian's mom and stepfather. Yet over in mom and stepfather's house, he spent the majority of his time. We just learned earlier today on our live that many people have multiple phones and multiple computers. Which computer did they take and analyze? Which phones did they take and analyze? How many computers? How many phones out of this child's main home? I was really shocked, because in the business I'm in, I keep everything. I keep my computers because of the hard drives. I keep my cell phones because of the hard drives. And when they're broken or shattered or something, I try to download as much as I can onto a external hard drive, right? So I have multiple phones. I can go in that office and grab literally a stack of phones and show you guys the stack of phones that I have lying around this house. How many phones are lying around these houses that weren't checked, that might hold some information, that might have some text messages on them that date back even further? Maybe some incidences we've never heard about that go on. How much and how far back did law enforcement actually look into these devices at his primary residence? Dog is on any lead, and he is in Tennessee. Thank you, Decor Moore. Which brings me to another point. Many of you know that I have been pushing to the people that watch me from that community specifically, and more specifically people that hold information about what happened to Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. We absolutely know and believe people know what happened. Multiple people, not just this little 4 people circus, okay? There's more people that have overheard conversations, that have information and intel into what happened to Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. And my appeal and my plea is to them to come forward and to do the right thing. This child deserves better. His father deserves answers. Law enforcement needs to close this case and bring this child home, and bring this child home safely. I realize that there may be another situation that is going on that might be preventing people from coming forward. I hope you resist and you speak up I hope you come forward and clear your conscience and your mind, body, and soul. I pray that you liberate yourself from the sleepless nights and the constant worry and anxiety that you must now be experiencing and going through. And more importantly, coming forward, you'll be rewarding yourself for doing the right thing with potentially $200,000 reward. This is something that could, $200,000 could really change the direction of somebody's life. It really could. Somebody knows something and they're withholding it because they're in fear. They feel that if they speak up, they might be letting their family down. They may be worried that they're going to get in trouble. This is a person that needs your help. Sebastian Rogers needs your help. He hasn't been home with his mom or his dad in over 9 months. He's autistic. He's medically needy. He's probably very scared. And if you know more that disputes that, even more of the reason why you should not be carrying that weight on your shoulders. And I pray that you find a way to say what you know. And if you are terrified and are scared of what's happening, trust one of us. Trust Dog. Trust me. Trust a friend. We will keep you quiet. We will keep you anonymous. We will protect you. We just need to know the information. You can always trust the Memphis FBI. They are working to close this case and bring Sebastian home. If you don't want to trust a third party, trust them. Pick up the phone and call the Memphis FBI office and let them know what you know. But people know what happened to this boy. They absolutely do know what happened to this boy, and I'm pleading for one of them in their good conscience. What if it was you? What if the shoe was on the other foot? You would want somebody to stand up and speak up for yours. We're begging you to stand up and speak up for him. All right, guys. This is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to blow up Nick Baris's email and text messages and ask him where forensics done. Not to answer the question, to get a confirmation from law enforcement and to tell us when the forensics were done. Because right now we know Seth was a person of interest in the disappearance of his son. And even with him being a person of interest in the disappearance of his son, they still never did forensics at his house. And I find that appalling. I find that absolutely appalling. And we need to get to the bottom of this forensics. Were they done or were they not done? Because if they were not done, this boy's, what happened to this boy, we'll never know. They've screwed the case up so far that it's probably not going to be able to be fixed. Forensics are key in cases like this. And they would be doing it 9 months later. I mean, hell, with Harmony Montgomery, they did it 2 years later. 2 years. 2 years. They were never able to bring her home. And this is the state of Tennessee, and they will not take, unless you have a confession or a body, they will not take this to court. They need to get up to the times. They need to do lawyering like the rest of the country does, because they are in this 1986 law or whatever. I don't know. I've never seen anything so crazy in my life. But this is like this everywhere in Tennessee. It's not just one area or another. They will not. It's very rare that they do no body cases. Do they do them? Yeah, they do them. But they have to be slam dunk cases because the DAs don't like working. They don't like having to explain things because they don't know how to explain shit. You know what I say? Hire new DAs that know how to take a circumstantial case to trial. People that specialize in taking circumstantial cases to trial, and start employing them. Period. Because this whole crackpot and crapshoot that you can just go and unalive a kid and just hide the body real well and not ever have to pay for your crime is getting old. And people like me sitting in Florida are sick and tired of hearing of the problems in Tennessee, because the problems in Tennessee are still affecting our children. And something has to be done. And if they want to look like crap and have a microscope and a spotlight shined on their state, I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it. We've been doing it for the last 3 years. But I tell you what, Sumner County really has taken the cake. They surely have. And so, you know, there's going to be lots of. I just keep wondering what they're going to do when I rent my house there. You know, I keep wondering what Sumner County is going to do then when they have to deal with me full time. Since they want me so bad, I was only there for 3 days. They've drugged me back to their state I don't know how many times, since they love Bullhorn Betty so much. It's time for me to pack my bags, rent this house out, and go stay in Sumner County so that law enforcement and the judges can see me every day. Hey! How you doing? Have any answers for Sebastian today? Or do you still got your thumb up your ass? Just asking for a few million people. I can't wait. I literally can't wait to sign a lease. I can't wait to take it in and make them have to change my address on all their forms. And every time they have to type my address on the new form, they say, oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. You might want to get some more arrest affidavits. Put them on stock. Just put Bullhorn Betty name. Just don't even call me Andrew anymore. Just put Bullhorn Betty on them. Because God knows I walk down the street, I'm getting arrested, and good Lord, let me have an opinion on those roads. Wow, they might bury me under the jail, but don't worry, you can disappear a kid and get a slap on the wrist and get a pat on the back and say, attaboy, don't worry, we got you. But good God, let you have an opinion. Communist Sumner County. Sight for sore eyes. I hope they get back to work, and I hope they start, all funniness aside, I hope they start getting back to work and putting this boy first, because this boy deserves truth and transparency. What Sumner County refuses to give the parents, refuses to give the people that employ them. Quite frankly, I'm disappointed in Sumner County. You guys didn't, you know what, I'd rather have no sheriff than Eric Craddock. Quite frankly. I'd rather have no sheriff than Eric Craddock. For those that put Seth Rogers on your ballot, God bless you for that. God bless you for that. But I'd like a little tidbit for any officer, any sheriff's officer out there that has balls and a backbone. Start working on, if you want a campaign, let's start moving this along for a 2028 campaign. I will help you. I'm very politically grounded. I will help you. I will set up the phones. I will set up the walking and knocking. I will do whatever you want to do. If you want to take your county back, and you want law and order to finally run supreme in Sumner County, and you are a sheriff and you need help getting your campaign, I'm telling you, I can get some political funds coming your way. I really do believe that it's time for a change of leadership in Sumner County. And I pray to God that you guys are liberated from the leadership you have right now, because it sucks. It sucks and it's dangerous. We'll see what happens, guys. We'll see what happens. But just keep, Sebastian, is there forensics done? I don't know. If anybody knows any information about whether or not forensics has been done in the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case, for sure, like for real, reach out to me at bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. Send me your information that shows that the forensics were done. I'd like to put this to bed, and it doesn't sound like the sheriff that collects federal funds works for anybody else other than his taxpayers. So I think the federal funds needs to get away from Sumner County, since he only wants to have to deal with the local taxpayers, not the federal taxpayers, even though the Constitution is very clear on that as well. I think we need to start hitting the federal funds that are going into that county. I think that's going to be how we get that county in line with who the true taxpayers are for them, because clearly their judgment is clouded. Anyways, guys, you rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, kind to one another. God bless each and every one of you, and have a great Saturday. And we'll be back for a show early tomorrow, and then church. If you guys have not had an opportunity, or it's been a while since you guys have gone to church, please consider coming and hanging out with the coffee club. We go to good gracious, Countryside Christian Church, if I can spit that out, CCC. And we have a really great worship. We're one of the first, we go to the very first worship time, which is at 9:10. I think we start at 9:15, something like that. And it's always very powerful. It's beautiful. We enjoy worshiping it together. And it really does help us start our week off on the right foot. So if you haven't, spoken to God in a while, or you haven't been to church in a while, maybe you're, bedridden, you have mobility issues, and those have prevented you from being in a church. Well, this is 2024, about to turn into 2025, and you don't need to be sitting in a brick and mortar anymore. You can come hang out with the coffee club and fill your cup up every Sunday, and we're there, rain or shine. And there's no travel time, so it's even great. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow. God bless you. Rock it out with your coffee beans out. We'll